presented by Dano Seasoning. Yum Yum Getches.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Sun Belt Syndicate featuring myself, Dominic Crusetto, and the man himself, TJ Corman. What shirt is that? I didn't even ask you that before we got rolling.
I guess I gotta make my camera a little bit better. This is a Smurfs chilling.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very classic. What does it say underneath that?
He's sitting under a mushroom.
Okay.
Hence chilling.
Got you.
Yeah. Because
very nice.
Get it? I don't do shrooms, but I know some
nice catch there, TJ.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm not promoting drugs. Okay.
Oh man, Ben James was jumping in early. Somehow he commented before we got started. I guess on YouTube you can comment before the stream even starts. It 15 minutes before. Actually, no, it's just a minute before. Actually, but yeah, what's up, James? And as always, Mr. Artie Cat himself as well. Yeah, I was telling TJ mostly well over here, although we had the first little kid's heartbreak as he lost his first animal, but luckily it was just a small fish. But yeah, man, that, like TJ said too, lucky it was just a fish because
yeah, it gets worse. Trust me. Yeah, it gets worse.
Yeah. And AJ's jumping on here. And TJ, you have that on in the background right now, right?
Yeah, I've got it on right here behind me. And I think it's halftime. Liberty is down to Kennesaw State.
Couldn't happen to a nicer group.
I think it's 14 apiece now.
Oh, man. Oh, yeah, he says right here, 14 apiece at the half. So they got one before there.
Right before half. Okay.
Unfortunately, because I'd love to see him go down.
Well, the thing is, I know, right? Well, and the thing is with Kennesaw State, I think, like, they're the kind of team you don't want to leave kind of hanging around because they've got that RPA, and I've watched it all night. They've got that run-pass option that they do where it's a backside slant, and it's almost no one there to cover because the safety comes down every time they read run, and they've scored off of it twice. And I think that if they can keep that up, then that's something. But I think these halftime adjustments, the problem is they can't stop Liberty. And I think Liberty is going to get one or two more stops, and they're going to be able to get. And I think that's going to be the difference in the game. So I picked Liberty to win big. So this is very surprising, but I don't know that Kennesaw State's going to be able to hold on. I hope they can. I despise Liberty, but
yeah,
I don't know if it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be what we want. If our hopes and dreams come true tonight.
Right. Yeah. We are Liberty haters on this podcast, specifically me. But yeah, I didn't see it coming.
I didn't hate him as much until this year.
True. Good point.
Until that dumbass comment he made about App State. Yeah, that chat.
Yep. Only made things worse from our side of things. And some of their fan base is just
worse.
Not great. Terry Walker jumping in. What's up, guys? Hope you're all having a good night tonight. If Kennesaw wins, I'll definitely be having a better night. That'll be hilarious. Yeah. You're talking about an undefeated team versus a team that hasn't won a game yet, and that goes the way you don't think it's going to go. That would make my night right there.
Right.
Oh, man. AJ saying he wants Kennesaw to win because it's his sister's alma mater. They started playing football as she graduated. Makes sense.
Yeah, nice.
Makes sense.
I want that for you and your sister. And I also want it for me.
Yep, and me too. We'll just make it a Sun Belt thing. Just everyone in the Sun Belt wants Liberty to lose. I'm pretty safe bet that is the case. Like the Louisiana schools when La Tech is playing anybody.
Right. They played last night, right? Did they win?
No. Oh wait, I think La Tech won.
Did they?
I believe they played like UTEP. I think right. I think they won.
Yeah, they did play UTEP last night. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, isn't Kennesaw State like the smallest capacity stadium in all of college football? It probably is because they're one of the most recent move-up teams that we've got. So they probably still do have a very small capacity stadium. He says at least on NCAA 25. Yeah, they're probably a safe bet. Good news for the designers of that game. They didn't have much work to do.
That is a fact.
Oh, man. So we've gotten this far. I even thank everybody that we usually thank. So obviously collegefootballdogs.com, they got me in front of Ashton Genty interview today. Didn't ask any questions because I was at work trying to watch and listen and take notes. But Yeah, not Sunbelt related, but he's a hell of a dude. Like overall, military background, faith-based, big time into that. He owns a dog, grew up with the dog, all kinds of cool stuff. So hopefully we've got an article coming out about that interview as two of us from College Football Dogs were jumping on there. So if you've got any interest in a potential Heisman winner, definitely check that out soon. Hit the website here shortly. And as always, thanks to Dubby Energy, Fanplex Graphics. I got their posters still. I still got to figure out how to get them up here without ruining them because I don't want to destroy. I could hang them up a multitude of ways, but I'm trying to figure out a way where I can consistently show them nicely without destroying the poster themselves. TSN Off Road. That's for your off-road and on-road needs. If you got a little Nissan Altima, you can hook these boards up to them, and you got custom-made ones with the American flag in them, bungee cords. Get your stuff strapped in there and hold it in place while you're traveling down the road. Or for your tailgates, you can put them in the back of your truck, SUV, car. You got your trunks that pop open, could hang them up there. And as always, TJ's favorite sponsor, Dano's Seasoning.
That is correct. I put that bleep on everything, except that's not their slogan.
They should just go ahead and change it.
They should.
Or the dancing chicken, though, was always a great thing to have.
Yeah, we don't have that anymore. I'm upset about that.
Well, we could run it. It's just, sometimes we have a long enough show without any ads. So
That's fair.
We'll keep it rolling along. Terry does the Road to Glory there in the college football game. He's been doing it with the smaller schools. Yeah, it's always fun to do it with those smaller schools that don't get as much notoriety. I'm sure TJ did that kind of stuff too when those guys played against each other back in the day and whatnot. Ashton Genty, Heisman favorite for sure. I know very little 1990s of me, but Kennesaw State's like right outside Atlanta, right, TJ?
Yeah, just right on the, I think is it northern border? No, it's eastern, right outside of eastern Atlanta, I think. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know exactly myself, but I knew it was close to Atlanta. They thought that would kind of be a nice place for a school. I bet it is too, especially if it's around Atlanta without being too far in town where the traffic is a friggin' nightmare down there. Georgia State and Georgia Southern.
Marietta. It's in Marietta, Georgia. Yeah, okay. So just outside of Atlanta.
Got you. Like an Atlanta suburb there, right?
Right.
What's your guys' analyst prediction for Notre Dame Navy game this weekend? Going off the Sun Belt stuff already, but I don't know if I'd put money on Navy. I'd love to see Navy win. I'm like a Notre Dame hater too, but I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah, I don't think Notre Dame has personnel to stop that run. Now, I say that. Are they going to be able to score enough? Because clock control, the best defense that Navy's going to have is keeping the ball away from Notre Dame. And they can do that by running the ball. I mean, their drives take like 10 minutes to go score a touchdown. Now, the problem is they got to go score the touchdown, right? So that's the issue. Whereas Notre Dame can drop back 2 big plays, and you know what I mean? And they're in there. So I think that's going to be the difference. I think the biggest thing for me, though, is going to see how Navy's run game fares. Because that triple option that they run, or read option, whatever you want to call it, split veer option, is, I mean, the way they run it now is way better than how they ran it in the past. So not to get too far off topic, but that should be a good game. It'll be interesting for sure. It'll have a lot of storylines to it. I don't know if I would hang my hat on picking Navy, but it is going to be an interesting game to watch.
Yeah. Well, he says go Falcons. I think you mean go Air Force for that one, but Navy is the midshipman. So you want the midshipman to win there.
No, he's saying you hope Notre Dame wins because I hate Navy. He's saying go Falcons as in go Air Force, right?
Oh, well, he's mixing a couple of things. Oh, former Air Force vet here.
Yeah, so that's what I thought. Air Force.
Oh, so he wants – okay. I got it. Yep. I misconstrued. Too many – there was – we had a Falcon thing the last time. I'm all confused on the Falcon aspect. Don't tell us anything more about Falcons, okay?
We need to know any more things about Falcons.
Yeah, next thing we're going to have like trivia questions about Falcons on the show. I'm just going to be –
I won't know the answer.
No, I won't either. But AJ's trying to get a PS5 and college football for Christmas, man, I'd hope for the same because I ain't got the money to spend on that kind of stuff right now.
Yeah, I'm not. My wife's buying it.
Yeah. Ben James trying to get us back on the Sun Belt track here as favorites and a spread against Troy. Yeah, we're going to get to that game. AJ will talk about that other prediction later. How many colleges are named Falcons? That's, again, see, this is the Falcon trivia. I don't know anything.
Yeah, we're not going to do this with you, Terry.
So less about Falcons and more about – there you go. Let's go to the Eagles. I know a little bit more about Eagles. We've got two of them in this conference. But before we get to any Eagles at all, we are going to get into TJ's clip breakdowns, one of my favorite points of the show. And the first one's going to come from Coastal Carolina versus Louisiana.
Set, go!
All right. We're going to go full screen here on this. Again, Coastal Carolina, Louisiana coming out of their own, well, what was that, the 6-yard line, TJ?
Might as well be their own end zone.
Yeah, it was like a play or two before this. It was literally the end zone. So let's take a look here, full speed, what we're going to see, pass out of the backfield to get upfield, and then TJ's going to tell us a little bit more about how and why this all happened.
Yeah, so you're always looking at box. Is it a run-heavy box, pass-heavy box? This is the definition of pass box. I mean, they've got like 7-8 people in the box at this point. Obvious man situation, so we're going to run it back for you and play it a little bit slower. What you'll see is a lot of pre-snap movement, which is awesome because that helps the quarterback determine what kind of coverage you're in, right? So you see right now that safety walk down, he's over that tight end, obviously man. Then you're going to get the receiver, the widest receiver to the right. He's going to come in motion, and that corner is going to go with him. Well, when that corner goes with him, that leaves nobody in the flats. So that outside linebacker is now responsible for the running back. He does not get his responsibility. That's why that play is wide open. Excellent play call, and even better execution on that, because if you're Louisiana, what you've done is create a simple play for your quarterback who doesn't have to read anything, right? And even in this scenario, right, with the misdirection, you've got the tight end who's going to – I didn't even catch this initially, but you've got the tight end that's going to go back kind of like a counter, right? So he's running what looks like a counter, which is going to make that defensive end, or excuse me, that linebacker on that far side who's responsible for the running back, that's going to make him crash the play because he's essentially trying to blow that up because he sees motion coming to him, right? Runs right past him, and now he's out of the backfield. So really what we had was the safety couldn't get over because there's too much traffic created by his own team, right? So watch the safety shifting over, right, that he's coming over with the tight end, okay? He's responsible for that tight end now, right? Well, it's a run look once we get motion coming our way. You got motion coming your way. This is a run look. Safety does not do his job, right? Look at him. He's just patting his feet right here. Mm-hmm. He's supposed to get across the field because he's got man responsibility on that tight end or H-back or whatever you want to call him. And now he's out in the end zone, or excuse me, he's out of the backfield scot-free because, you know, this guy decided that I'm not going to play football today. So
what's the guy that does the –
when you get calls like that, I love it because it makes it so much easier, so much of a clear picture for your quarterback. You determine where the rush is coming from. If there is a rush, you determine what coverage it is. All your pre-snap reads are already made for you because of all the pre-snap motion and all the reading that you're having to do before the ball's even snapped. So this kind of offense is very friendly to a quarterback because now you're creating a situation where all you've got to do is just get the ball out to the open guy. He's going to be open. There's no possible way with all that traffic in there, even if he did, let's say he did run with this guy, with all that traffic in there, he would have gotten picked. Worst case scenario or best case scenario for Coastal, they would have stopped him for a 6-yard gain. He still would have gotten the first down. So not to beat a dead horse, but that was just outstanding play design.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And another play that we're going to get to here comes to us from the Marshall, Georgia State game. Again, first time full speed with Braylon Braxton back there in the backfield. And you're going to remember this one. Georgia State almost jumps offside here. Some adjustment
Yeah, he should have snapped the ball. Center should have snapped the ball when he was across. I know they probably don't. They don't practice that enough in college, in my opinion. But he should have snapped the ball here, or should have snapped the ball when he got jumped off sides. But this is just great individual effort and poor tackling. Right. We got one of the best running backs in the SoCon. Jesus Christ, I said SoCon. Goes back to my playing days. Best running backs in the Sun Belt Conference, and Georgia State actually plays this really, really well. You see, it's a stretch zone coming to us, right? And they play this really well. 47's protecting his edge. I mean, they're doing everything right. 47 did his job. Now watch 5, the safety come down. He is supposed to at this point fill that lane, right? When he comes to fill that lane, boom, make the tackle, wrap up, bring him down. Instead, he puts a shoulder on a guy who's 210 pounds and is a running back. I guess he forgot about that part. And his job is to have balance. And so when you do that, you get a broken tackle and you get 6. So that's your fault, 5. But yeah, you gotta make the tackle, man. I mean, they played it perfectly. I mean, this is absolutely excellent defense. If I'm Georgia State, if I'm looking at, I mean, everybody's outside leverage is there. There's no hole to run through. I mean, that's a tackle. That is a tackle. That is supposed to be a tackle. And he ruined it, for lack of a better term. Yeah. So he needs a mirror so he can see exactly who blew it.
Going back a little bit further last week into this one with Troy and South Alabama, we did already do one clip from this one, but TJ is going to explain to us what the breakdown was here in this play as we see the running back getting a little upset with Gio Lopez here.
Yeah, this was funny to me. I told you I was in my kitchen at my dinner table watching this, and you're going to see Gio read this wrong. I say he read it wrong, right? Your read on this play is always going to be the defensive end. But I don't think they were on the same page, because if you look at the offensive line and look at their blocking scheme, I think that they think this RPO is going to be more pass heavy because they're seeing blitz. And what happens when you see that against a play like this is you really take away all the options. See that middle linebacker coming up, fill the gap?
Oh yeah.
There's nowhere for him to go. Even if Gio, now the running backs, he's all pissed off because Gio should have kept that in his mind, right? But even if Gio keeps that defensive end, if you play it back one more time, that defensive end doesn't crash. So watch that defensive end to the far side, or I guess to Gio's right. No, to the right.
Oh, here.
So watch him at the snap of the ball. He's not going to crash down. He's playing perfect responsibility. He knows Gio can run that football. But what they're not accounting for is the offensive line just getting blown up. And so the running back, in his mind, he's thinking, why the hell did you hand me the ball when you should have just taken it and run, right? That's what he's looking at. I'm like, bro, run the ball. What are you doing? You see what's happening. But what you didn't see, Mr. Running Back, was that defensive end did not crash. And so there would have been no outside lane for him to run the football. So it was just completely blown up from the begin with. I don't know if they had a pass option off of that, but that would have been, quite honestly, the only way that play would have worked, because it was blown up from the beginning.
Yeah. And like a quick screen too, because like you said, they were playing some pretty stout defense from the looks of it.
Yeah. I mean, they had no chance. There was no shot.
Yeah. Oh, look at this. Touchdown Owls. All right. Kennesaw back in the lead now, I think.
Here we go. Keep us abreast, man. I got a TV on behind me, but I don't want to keep turning around. I feel like I'm doing y'all a disservice if I keep turning around and looking at this and then turning back around. I got 2 games on at once. So I'm trying to let me make the Kennesaw State game bigger. Yeah, 21-14. All right, here we go.
Nice. Very nice. I don't hate that at all. I love that. Terry Walker. So it's really cool that a popular name to come out of Kennesaw State. You had the Bronson Reinsteiner, a.k.a. Braun Breaker, for those of you wrestling fans, son of Scott. This is Scott Steiner, I think. Yeah, Scott Steiner. So if TJ, I don't know how much wrestling you used to watch back in the days, but
a whole lot of Steiner brothers.
Papa Pump, that's his son there. Played running back at Kennesaw State. Huge kid. And now he's making his mark in the wrestling world. So I love that. I mean, I don't get to watch as much wrestling these days, but I subscribe to that Peacock network. No free ads, by the way. But I do like Oh, Rick's son's not Scott's son. Sorry. But
Speaking of
they were
Rick,
a tag team. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of Rick, Rick Flair's daughter went to App State. Ashley Flair played
For a
volleyball.
year, right?
Yeah, I think it was 2 years.
2 years.
One of the guys on my football team, I won't say his name, he dated her.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And now she's the phenomenal athlete in the wrestling world as well, which doesn't really come to.
I mean, I was going to say, are you surprised? She was a freak of nature playing sports over at App State. So,
yeah, volleyball player, right?
Yep.
I am seeing this as breaking news, and so it's only appropriate we play this. But Ben James has brought us some breaking news as former Coastal Carolina quarterback medically retiring from football in Grayson McCall. TJ, I'm going to let you fact check that while we
I am doing it as we speak.
We go along, but so far I don't see anything that would tell me he's wrong. So we're going to go with it. It's on the internet. It must be true, right?
Yeah, NC State quarterback Grayson McCall is retiring from football following his latest head injury that he suffered earlier this month. He announced Wednesday, "I have battled injuries my whole career, but this one is one that I cannot come back from."
Wow.
Tough, man. I wish him the best, to him and his family. I know, listen, head injuries are nothing to joke around about, and they're nothing to play with. I know, you got a guy like Grayson McCall who is, for all intents and purposes, making the right call for himself. And then on the opposite end of that spectrum, you got a guy like, Tua Tagovailoa who, doesn't want to make the call for whatever reason. And listen, neither one of them are wrong. I'm never going to tell a person what they should or shouldn't do with their own health and their own body. But gracefully bowing out the way, no pun intended, gracefully bowing out the way Grayson McCall is doing, I got nothing but respect for that, especially for a game that you love. So, shout out to him, his family, and I wish you the best, bro. Yeah,
that's the rivalries with a lot of teams and the fact people hated him for being on the field. That's fine when that's the case because he's winning or causing your team trouble. We're all for the hate weeks, as we call it, right? But this is a different situation. This is sad to see, sad to hear. I know you always take that chance if you're giving it at a bigger school for some money to come along with it. Obviously, that's even a smarter move now as you see what has transpired. But a possible aspect, Ben James thinks he's going to get into coaching, which it could be a really good avenue for someone who really had that compete level still going, but just can't, unfortunately, do it on the field any longer. So, that's sad to hear. We don't like to hear that at all. So best wishes moving forward for Grayson McCall. It's like Ben said, hopefully his football career is only over in one aspect and he can still continue doing some of the things he loves with a school, maybe Coastal Carolina. Who knows? They're looking for a new OC.
Here's the other thing, too. There are a lot of colleges in the United States, right? He's going to get a shot somewhere. That's what he wants to do.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Okay. Back to the task at hand. We are going to take a look at the standings before we break into our power rankings. And here it is as it lays out right now before any of these games happen this weekend and obviously tomorrow night as well, where we have a battle in the East for the top spot as it will be. As Georgia Southern will take on ODU. We'll get to that matchup here in a minute, but Georgia Southern currently the only 3-0 team on the east side of the bracket. Meanwhile, two of those teams out in the west in Louisiana and ULM. Anything you want to talk about before we get into power rankings? I mean, we got 4 0-3 teams and 3 3-0 teams, and then a bunch of teams right in the middle of all that, I guess.
Yeah, I think the East is going to settle itself out tomorrow for sure. I got to, we'll get into that game as we go. But the East will certainly define itself. I'm so impressed with ULM this year. I can't say enough about them and what they've done. Obviously, the class is the Cajuns, in my opinion, but what ULM has done this year has been nothing short of amazing based on what they came from last year. I'm giving them all the respect that they deserve. I know they got to play the Cajuns at some point this season, so that'll figure itself out if the two teams continue to play the way that they played. But I'm super impressed by ULM.
Yeah, absolutely. Same thing here. I think in a minute we'll get to it, but little impressed with ODU as well. Although we got some stuff we're going to talk about once we get to ODU with you, TJ. They're not loving the respect or lack thereof that you have given them thus far, or not given them as
we're not giving them. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. So what's up, Dominic? Thanks for joining the show, and let's get right into those power rankings now. Let's take a look. Now, okay, I've got a lot more movement on my side. You have less movement, but one thing that is the same, not the exact same, but the top 3 teams are all there on either side of our bracket. We've both got Louisiana at 1. After that's where it changes up slightly. I've got Georgia Southern at 2. You have ULM at 2. I have them at 3 on my side, and then you have Georgia Southern at 3 on your side. Let's talk about those top 3, like you said. ULM, the surprise team, but Georgia Southern right there at 3 for you, 2 for me. What are you seeing out of them that you like?
Yeah, you mean Georgia Southern, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I love their air raid offense, man. I just love the way they're getting the ball all over the field. They've gotten away from, how they used to run the football, which is great. Nothing wrong with it. But offense is evolving, football is evolving. You've got to get yourself in a situation where you can throw the football, and they're doing that at a high rate. I mean, their defense is playing really well. Offensively, they're putting up numbers all over the board. French has got 1,500 passing yards and 10 touchdowns to only 5 interceptions on the season. And that's through week 8 now? I guess we're going into week 9.
Week 9. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're through week 8. I mean, that's pretty damn good, right? So, given what they've done this year, they've got my respect. So I don't put them above ULM. I don't put them above UL, just because of the rankings and because of the games that they've won. I'm giving them their respect. But Georgia Southern at 3 right now. And honestly, I'm picking Georgia Southern the rest of the way to win the East.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now we'll get to that matchup because that's interesting because I believe the spread is still favoring ODU at this point. So we'll have to look at that one here in a second. Now, in our 4th spot, we've got some discrepancies here. I've got Marshall climbing up all the way to 4. So, and the reason I'm doing that is I think they could have, would have, should have beaten Georgia Southern. An epic collapse that should not have happened either. But at the same time, you saw how that was handily in their favor up until that 4th quarter. I think they have the capability to stay there. They got another win this past week against Georgia State, a feisty Georgia State team. I'm giving them pretty good credit. Now, you have them at 8 after I have them at 4, but they did move up for you.
Yes.
So explain maybe why they didn't move up further or why they were down more to begin with. I guess maybe it was the collapse at Georgia Southern.
That's a huge reason why. It's because of the collapse. You got to finish games, right? And for me, as a guy who played football, we never care about what you could have done. I don't care about what should have happened, what could have happened. You'll hear people now talk about the App State-Michigan game as a game that we surprised Michigan and Michigan should have beaten us. Don't tell me about what they should have done. I know what they did do or didn't do, right? And so for me, that's where a lot of I penalize them. But they did move up. Some of it was their doing. Some of it was, some doing of other teams, right?
Yeah.
But they did move up, in my opinion. So I'm giving them their respect. I think, what are they, 3rd in the East, 2nd in the East?
It depends. So there's really not much tiebreakers between them except for them and Georgia Southern, which that's not a tie at that point.
Right.
But I think at this point of the season, what you do is you go with the overall record. I don't know, because there's not many games played against conference opponents just yet. It's harder to say when they haven't played each other further down than that. Right. But that's what I did for the standings. Marshall was 4-3 and ODU's 3-4. So I did it for that reason, since those two teams haven't specifically played each other yet.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And then so the rest of the way for me, I think it gets kind of cloudy between 5 and 9, right?
Yes.
Or 5 and 10. So I'm basing this on my eye test and what I don't rankings. I don't want to say putting aside for the middle part of the bracket. But part of it is who I believe can beat who. And so I got a lot of Twitter beef with the guys at ODU. Listen,
yeah.
And I spoke my piece there, and I'll reiterate it again. I am exceptionally proud and very impressed about how ODU is playing defense. The issue that I have with ODU is their ability to score offensively. They don't score 25 points or 24 points or 28 points consistently enough for me to believe that they can beat for instance, Georgia Southern, who they're going to play tomorrow night. Now, I could be very far off. And they could be playing defense well enough that Georgia Southern doesn't score 28 points. But I think if you can score 25 to 28 points against ODU, you beat them because they don't have enough offensive firepower. It has nothing to do with them as an overall team or me not liking them. Their defense is phenomenal. They're outstanding. They played great all season long. The issue that I have is, can you score the football? And they have not done that at a high clip. So that is my position of where I think I think South Alabama can beat them because of Gio Lopez, right? I think Marshall's team, I think they're offensively good enough to score against them. I don't think that they'd be able to stop Arkansas State's quarterback and their dynamic offense. Texas State, for sure, in my opinion, is a really good football team, and they've got a quarterback who throws it all over the lot. And Coastal probably is ranked a little bit higher than they maybe should be. Probably should flip-flop them and Arkansas. Well, put them at 7 and maybe move Texas State and Arkansas State up a bit higher. But I do think they have offensively more firepower than ODU has. So the teams that I have in front of them, I have in front of them not because ODU is not good and they're not an impressive football team. It's because they don't play offense well enough that they can keep up with a team. If you score 25 to 28 points against ODU, you are likely going to win that football game. They just don't have enough.
True. So that's a good point. Ben James saying, like I said before, everyone has their moments, and teams are doing good now will fall off later on, in my opinion. Yeah, we've seen it happen before. We may see it happen again. I mean, a good representation of that is what App State was able to do last year, where they turned it on in the second half of the season and ended up making a conference championship game. Yes, there's an asterisk because JMU should have been the representative had they been eligible, but nonetheless, you still get hot at the end of the year. Things can happen. Yeah, so you have JMU at 4. I have them at 5. Not a big change there, but obviously kind of going down a little bit on my side. I had ODU there at 6. I think we just kind of mainly covered that. Slight agreement with you. Actually, I'm not getting the flack that you do because basically I don't have them as low.
Because you're not reflecting it. That's why.
Yeah, but I do agree here. So one thing I've been harking on was Colton Joseph getting the ball and maturing as a quarterback, maturing as a passer.
Sure.
He's maybe doing that slightly, but he's the second leading rusher on this team by only about 10 yards less than their traditional running back.
And that's not good.
Yeah, it's cool in an aspect, but this isn't the Navy offense. This isn't the Army offense where you're running these type of triple option type looks a lot. This is not what ODU's built on. Now, maybe they're going to adjust because that's what's fitting Joseph's game right now. But to me, like you said, I'm concerned a little bit because you've become a little one-dimensional, right? If he can only really beat you with his feet, and any team figures that out quite well, you've got a problem if you can't beat people through the air, which they haven't done real successfully. They've got 8 total touchdowns through the air on the season, 13 on the ground.
That's not enough.
Yeah, that's where our concerns come in. Now, again, for me right now, what I've seen, the eye test, like you said, do I think they could beat Texas State? That was a real coin flip toss-up to me, to be totally honest with you. But in one regard, I'm rewarding ODU because they just beat them literally. So you have to kind of go with that. But you take that matchup 9 out of 10 times. I mean, I think Vegas is going to favor Texas State every time, right? Like, I mean, I think I'd kind of do that too. They're a little bit more explosive, where I feel like ODU's not as explosive of his offense. The defense, okay. After that, again, we've got a lot of 1 and 2 and 2 and 1 teams. Like you said, that's that middle part that's jumbled up. We do end with the exact same bottom 4, which includes Georgia State at 11, App State at 12, Troy at 13, and USM at 14. I just don't think you've seen enough from any of those teams to really move them, which is reflected here as none of those did move for us. I just had a couple teams drop down. And, Arkansas State moves down, like you said. That's more to do with the teams jumping than them. Yep. I know Ben wants a little bit more respect thrown Arkansas State's way, but sorry, if you beat the worst team in the conference right now in Southern Miss, who just fired their head coach because they're so bad, you're not going to get a big reward from me. I'm not At best, you're staying where you are, and I'm making an argument to stay there. I'm not jumping you up for beating a bad football team. And that's what, unfortunately, for USM, they are right now. So until we see otherwise. Now, it's interesting. We've got that 11-12 matchup this Saturday in Boone with Georgia State coming up the mountain to play App State, looking for their first ever victory, not only in Boone, but against App State ever, all time. Georgia State never beaten the Mountaineers. So that will be.
Let's not say that too loud.
Just keep reiterating it. It can't be bad, right?
Right.
Oh, man. Yeah. Per Butch Jones, if Malik Hornsby has a great week in practice, he's going to get more playing time, and he's learning the playbook after Southern Miss game. He's going to play more, in my opinion. Yeah, if you saw that one breakaway touchdown that he did have, he's got some great speed. Obviously, he was the transfer from Texas State, former quarterback. He's going to come over to the Red Wolves and play some wide receiver slash. He's kind of a slash player. I think he can get, some end arounds out of the backfield, looking more like a running back too. Just a total weapon. And obviously TJ can tell you this too. As a former quarterback, you've probably got some stuff in your head that you understand or tell yourself before a play that helps you in other positions on the field as well, that maybe other players aren't equipped to have or something, I guess. I don't know if I'm describing that properly or not.
Well, yeah, I mean, you just see the field better, right? You understand what the defense is doing better than most people who haven't played the quarterback position. Even if you didn't play it at a high level, like I said, I played high school quarterback. It wasn't at a very high level, but I can tell you the difference between cover 1, cover 2, cover 3, cover 5, whatever it is that you're running. And I know where to go. I know where the holes in the defense are going to be. And so you bring that kind of acumen, if you will, to that offense.
Yeah, been upset that we have you have Arkansas State above South Alabama, which makes sense to him because they beat them. I have South Alabama now above Arkansas State, which he doesn't like since they went head-to-head. But as you get further away from that, I think that's why you're going to see some movement. Again, this is the standings. This is the power rankings. This is what we think would happen if they kind of went toe-to-toe. Now, Warren is letting us know with the Troy win Saturday, where would you move them? That's a good aspect. Obviously, the two above them are matching up, and so that's going to matter.
It's going to depend for me a lot on how the three teams above them do, right? Because obviously the Georgia State and App State are going to sort themselves out. ODU versus Georgia Southern, that's going to be the matchup that I look for. So for me, they could stay where they are, or they could go as high as 10, depending on what happens the rest of the way. You know what I mean? It depends on what happens. I don't know that I would put them above ODU, though, just because of what I've seen so far. But I'd certainly put them above App State and or Georgia State based on how the outcome of this game goes. So they could be as high as 12 or 11 for me. They're not going to move much more than that, though. They're going to get that much.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and a big part of that is what Ben James is saying. Goose Crowder, one of the best names in all of college football, is officially done for the season, which TJ and I went back and forth on text with already, and TJ obviously thinks that's a great decision unfortunately for Troy and a couple of these other teams at the bottom here. You're not playing for a whole lot less left in the season, so go ahead and get that health on your side and come back next year and try and regroup in that regard. Yeah, to me, they definitely don't jump any higher than 10. You're jumping whoever the loser of the Georgia State versus App State game is for me, probably just because you win and they lose. And then above that, I mean, honestly, if this Georgia State App State game ends 7-0, then maybe they jump both. I don't know.
Right? Yeah. If it's 13-12, then they might jump both of them. And then for me, it depends on if ODU loses, which I predict that they will, but how they lose.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, if they get trounced by Georgia Southern, then they weren't for real and it was a fluke, and then people have figured out their offense and it's not going to work the way it has the rest of the season. And he's saying Goose Crowder is not the best name in college football. It's General Booty. Well, okay. I mean, they're both good ones, but I see Goose on the field a little bit more than General Booty was lately. So I went with that. But if you're a Top Gun fan, Goose and Maverick. So yeah, I like the Goose name. So Here we go. Week 9 going straight into it. Thursday night, ESPN2, 7-6 Central. We've got that matchup that we just started to allude to. Georgia Southern traveling to Norfolk, Virginia to take on the Monarchs of ODU. Again, this is a battle for the top spot. Even though you see Georgia Southern with a 3-0 record, ODU with a 2-1. With a win, ODU would then go to 3-1, matching the mark of Georgia Southern and have the head-to-head win and claim the crown, the top spot in the East for now, although Marshall will have something to say about that. Again, this line is currently 2 points in favor of ODU with a total over-under at 53.5. You touching any of that, TJ?
Absolutely not. And actually, the spread as of an hour ago just changed to ODU -1. So it actually came back down. Yeah. So, and that was just as an hour ago. No, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. Here's the thing. It might be a game where you can win some money.
True.
Because in my opinion, Georgia Southern should win by at least a touchdown.
Yeah. If you grabbed it earlier in the week, that spread might have been even more in favor of ODU. I think at the most that I saw it, I believe at one point it was -2.5, which is going to make you a little bit more money than the 2 now. Certainly more money than you said it's 1, or is it 1.5 now?
It's 1 now.
Wow. Okay. I just grabbed that right before probably about, like you said, 8:30, an hour ago.
Yeah. So
that's crazy.
It's showing 56 minutes ago -1.
Okay.
And I think so. Here's the thing. I mean, the temperature, I don't understand why they're giving ODU. So, okay, I get it. So when the home team always gets at least 3 points, right? They always give the home team at least a 3-point advantage. Yeah. So essentially what they're telling you is that it's worth 2 points for Georgia Southern. I think Georgia Southern wins by more than that, frankly, because you've got ideal temperatures. I mean, it's going to be 69 degrees. And, that's beautiful weather. What are we talking? I don't understand why they're giving so much love just because they're home. Anyway, I say all that to say, basically repeat myself from earlier. I don't know that they're going to have enough on offense to keep up with Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern scores, in my opinion, 30 points this game.
Ooh, okay. And if ODU does not score on their side, that won't hit that 53.5 point mark. That's a lot of points.
Well, somebody's got to do it. If they got the total at 53.5, somebody's got to score 30, and it ain't going to be ODU.
Yeah. I don't see the ODU offense putting up that many points. No, I mean, we've seen teams like Boise State put up a lot of points on Georgia Southern, but I also don't think that's very fair because that is not your typical offense led by Ashton Genty there.
There's not a whole lot of Genties running around.
No, definitely not there. Seth was chiming in there. The home team agreeing with you typically gets about 3 points. He's coming back with his always accountable and Trey Lamb. He's going ahead and throwing that into the universe again, trying to get them to make a change at his team there at App State and TJ's former team, and pride and joy, right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
I mean,
not so much joy this year, but
yeah, that's true. That is a good point. So I'm with you. We were high on Georgia Southern going into that game against JMU. They took care of business, made us look smart. I think they'll do it again. But this could be really close up until I could see this being like a close third quarter game.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. I think we're gonna go into the third or fourth quarter probably 24-21.
Oh, okay. Somebody write that down. Mark, write that down. Yeah,
at 23-20, 24-21, somewhere in there is going to be the score. And then Georgia Southern scores one more touchdown in the fourth quarter and ices the game, 31-21 ball game.
All right. I like it.
AJ, so essentially, I'm taking the under is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I would definitely lean towards the under for sure here. What are y'all Sunbelt games to watch? Well, we're going to go over those as we continue going. And then after, all that, we got some extra point time. We can go over any other ones that we see coming up. The first game on the Saturday slate for the Sunbelt is up in Boone. What was that?
Oh, I saw the spread at -8, and I'm like, in what world?
That's got to be leaning on the history, right? Well, like I said, they've never beaten App State in Boone or in Atlanta. It doesn't matter where the game's been. They have not beaten them. Is that, I don't know. Also, to me, and you can speak on this from a playing perspective here, App State coming off a bye week, Georgia State coming off a couple weeks of having games. Do you think this one starts off faster in favor of Georgia State because they've been in a routine, they've been in a rhythm, and App State's going to have to get back into one? Or what do you see this game starting out as? Because that's the aspect to me that, like, Georgia State could take advantage of and App State can do nothing about until they just get back into a rhythm. But maybe I'm wrong.
So some of that is true. Some of that is kind of mythical. It depends on the team that you're playing, right? If you're playing a good football team, I don't care if they had 6 weeks off. If they're better than you, they're just better than you. And that's just that. Now, in this game, the situation is a little bit different because you got two teams that are, quite frankly, not very good. Neither of these teams are explosive in any way other than, maybe chunk play here and there. I think to your point, that theory of knocking some of the rust off might come into play a little bit just because App State's not a great football team this year. That only applies when you're not good. You're only rusty when you're not good, in my opinion. So for me, there's a good chance that Georgia State could come in, knock on the door kind of early, assert themselves. I think they get settled in, right? Maybe midway through the first quarter. Hopefully it's not too late at that point. I don't think either team's going to blow you away. At 62.5 points is probably apropos for this because neither team is great on defense.
Right.
So both teams scoring 30 would not surprise me. I think it's going to come down to who has the ball last and who turns the ball over the least. Joey's had some turnovers this year, but you and I both know that those turnovers are coming from him trying to make plays, right? There's been some fumbles that have happened as well, and we've got some injuries on defense, I think, that are going to hold us back. So am I beating my chest about that? I'm not beating my chest about anything that App State's doing this year, but specifically this game, no. But I just think 8 points is a lot. I mean, I had 34-31 App State. Maybe 37-34. I don't know. -8 seems like a lot.
Yeah. To me, this game could mirror the game that they had against ECU, where ECU got out early. Like I said, to me, this is a non-playing perspective from previous thoughts, is that they're in this rhythm. That's right. The other aspect to this, though, is Veyer, as pictured here, is not likely to be the starter anymore. It looks like they're going to go with Zach Gibson, which does create an avenue of not as much film, not as much knowledge base about what he's going to run, what he prefers to do. I don't know. Maybe that's an aspect that they're leaning on, being in the favor of Georgia State, App State, and that's why they're given the 8 points. I don't, like you said, I don't trust either one of these teams at all.
No, I don't. And to your point, I don't trust that if either team gets a lead that they'll keep it.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Because neither one of them can play defense. They can't stop anybody.
Yeah.
So, it's like I said, who has the ball last or who either creates turnovers or has the least amount of them.
Yeah.
That's who's going to win this football game.
The other thing that you have to keep in mind, smaller aspect, but it does exist, is this is the first game in Boone since all the flooding, since the landslides, since all the hurricane craziness.
Yeah, the emotion factor. Yep.
Yeah, the emotion factor. It's going to be there. And is that a favorite in the line? I don't know. It's got to be at least some part of the equation there. I'm interested to see what it's all like, what it feels like to be in Boone, what it looks like to be in Boone.
I'd love to be there.
Yeah, what the atmosphere feels like. Is it kind of like a somber in a way, like we're getting all back together and it's like a family reunion? Or is it more like it's finally time to party together again type of thing? I don't know. I don't know what it's going to feel like. It's going to be weird, I think, honestly, for the first quarter or so till people feel like themselves and, maybe had a couple drinks to get ready into it. It's a 1:00 game, not a typical time for a game in Boone. Partly to do with that what is it? The curfew aspect. I couldn't think of that word there.
Well, that and I guess the curfew is indicative of the roads and that kind of thing.
Yes, traveling at night, not a smart thing to do.
Right. Speaking of, not to change the topic, Liberty is down 24-17 against Kennesaw State. 11:35 left to go in the fourth.
Wow.
Liberty just had a hell of a return, though, after the Kennesaw State kickoff. And side note, Kennesaw State's kicker, extremely hairy. Very hairy. I mean, I don't know if anybody else that's watching us is also watching that game. He is, if you are and you have the ability to rewind it, he is exceptionally hairy. I don't know what is going on.
He needs to be a NIL sponsored by a Manscaped or whatever that company is.
That is. I wish I could show you this. Can I? No, I can't share my screen. But this guy he is a hairy individual. Anyway, sorry.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to go check this out afterward. Going back. One last note on this. Seth Johnson, a Boone local, and obviously been on the show many times as well. Says, "Call me crazy, but apt by a lot." And
I hope so. I hope
that may be. Yeah, I would love to see it because I'll be there in person, and it can keep the whole "you've never beaten us" rhetoric going. But I know those state of Atlanta guys really, really want this one because this is kind of their year, right? This is the down year for App. It's the time to take advantage for just schools where they haven't beaten them yet. So, All right, 3:30 slot, 2:30 Central Time. We have 5-2, but only 1-2 a surprising 1-2 in the conference. The JMU Dukes playing host to Southern Miss in this one. Southern Miss again struggling, going to have an interim head coach. That interim head coach has been at Southern Miss for a while, pretty good and well-known on the recruiting trail. Spent about, I think, 9 years as a Raging Cajun staff member. So not jumping into a situation he's not well aware of and comfortable with. But I don't know. Is there anything that makes you think that they cover that 24.5-point spread and make this into some kind of a game because of some different things or some different looks they'll throw at this JMU team?
No, I got JMU by a lot. I think 24 is ideal. JMU will be 2-2 in the conference, 6-2 overall when it's all said and done. Listen, Southern Miss is not a good football team. They're just not. Artie, I hope you're right. Southern Miss is not. They're just not a good football team. So, I'm picking JMU. I'm picking them by a lot. I think Barnett III is going to go crazy. Throwing the ball. I think it's going to get to a point where he might not play halfway through the fourth quarter. I think they might pull up. Yeah, I think it gets bad, man, because they can't stop anybody. I mean, teams are averaging 35 points against Southern Miss. That's not good.
No.
That
offense too. I'm telling you right now, JMU's a little banged up on the defensive side, a little bit. Not as bad as some of these other teams, but they've got a couple guys banged up. But they're going to be pissed off about how this season has transpired after a really, really rocket start there. I don't see a team that struggles to throw the ball like Southern Miss does having really any success against a Dukes team like this. That's again This would be different if it was a trap game. JMU's coming in on a high note. Southern Miss has got to change at the head coaching spot, and they were kind of close in some games before or something. Now, saying all that, they did play relatively close against the current number 1 or 2 team in the conference with the Raging Cajuns. So there is that to note. But apparently it's like the Cajuns always struggle against Southern Miss. It's just something that happens in their history. So is it more of that aspect, or did Southern Miss have the capability to play a really good game? Could they replicate that type of performance against JMU? But again, this one in Harrisonburg, Virginia, I don't think that's going to play into the Golden Eagles' hands at all. Yeah,
and to your point about Southern Miss playing well against Louisiana, you know, the sun shines on a dog's ass every once in a while. So I don't think it's going to repeat itself. JMU by a whole lot.
Yeah. The only thing that scares me is the 24.5. That's still.
It seems like a lot. It does seem like a lot.
Yeah, I'd actually be more comfortable taking the over on the 54.5 than I would the point spread at 24.5, if that makes any sense.
So I think the point total is kind of low.
Yeah,
especially for it to be a 24-point win.
Yep, I was just going to say that.
That doesn't factor in my opinion. I mean, I got JMU scoring 40.
Yeah.
So we saying if JMU scores 40 that they're only going to score 14? 15?
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess that's the aspect, right? This Southern Miss team does not score a lot of points. So maybe that's what they're saying. It's like it'll all be on JMU, and that's where you question whether they get to that 54.5. I mean, I guess when you think about it like that it does make a little more sense on why Vegas is comfortable with those type of numbers. But
well, and two, if they do score 40, my opinion, they get it before, well before the end of the ball game. Does that give then Southern Miss a chance to come back and score some more points towards the end of the game, and it end up being 41 or 45-20? Because you know what I mean. So I don't know.
Yeah, very true. AJ Moore saying, I will say, during the JMU Southern game, there was someone, I'm guessing a Southern fan, who threw purple and white streamers after a Georgia Southern touchdown. Yeah, JMU is the one that usually throws the streamers. Yeah, a lot of people hate that aspect. So it is what it is. I know they've gotten themselves.
They've done that for a while. I was never a fan because somebody's got to clean that up.
Oh yeah, and most people just don't. They just leave it. So
that's what I'm saying. And their staff have to stay after. That pissed me off. Anyway.
Oh yeah. Yeah, same here. Now, I noticed that I didn't even really think about this when I posted this one up, but we've got both teams in white jerseys. That will not be the case when they actually meet on the field Saturday at 5 o'clock, 4 Central on ESPN+. This one pits South Alabama, 2-1 in the conference, going up against 3-0 ULM. This is another battle that could decide who sits atop of the conference. Obviously, the Cajuns not active this week, so there's not much they can do to improve or decline from their 3-0 record. But for the meantime, one of these teams could lay claim to the top spot, and the Jaguars are favored by 7 points over a team like the Warhawks there that have been hot so far this year. And you said you're a believer now, TJ, right?
Yeah, that's so that 7-point spread, that's some home cooking for South Alabama. That's home cooking. I don't think. Listen, I'm going with ULM until proven otherwise. What ULM has done this year has been nothing short of amazing. I'm proud of them, if you can say that. As a person who loves the Sun Belt Conference, they're stopping teams from scoring points, and they are scoring points. And that's how you play football. That's how you win. They're able to run the ball at a very high clip. Right now, Hardy's their leading rusher with 99 carries for 500 yards and 6 touchdowns. I'd say that's a pretty good. That's 5 yards a carry. I'm not mad about that. So
yeah,
So if you're talking about, in my opinion, being able to sustain drives, right? 5 yards a carry, running the ball is going to help you do that. Now, the issue they're going to have is Gio Lopez on that other side. Can they stop him? Can they stop that read option or that RPO that they run? Can they stop that? I'm going to go with yes. Point total seems a bit low, in my opinion, 45.5. I mean, that's assuming that both teams stay in the 20s. I don't see that happening. I think it's going to be a great game. There's going to be some good defense played, but I think the difference is going to be ULM makes one more defensive stop than South Alabama does.
Okay. Interesting. I like that. I agree with you. I agree with Artie. I agree with Ben James. It's going to be a defensive game. It's going to be a good game. This is one I definitely have my eye on. If you told me before the season one of the best games in the Sun Belt this week is going to be ULM at South Alabama, I'd probably laugh at. But that's where we're faced with, and I love it. That's fine with me, man. That's
the parity of college football right now. That's what the transfer portal has done, and I'm excited about it because it's no different than free agents in the NFL. We talked about this. We talked about it ad nauseum, as a matter of fact. It's no different than any other league now, and now it's, can you get better right away? How quickly can you – we live in a microwave society, right? And football has become microwave, and I'm frankly okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, this is the good, like you said. This is the good. ULM was down as far as you could be down after many, many years of struggling to win 2 to 3 football games. I mean, it was that bad. And now all of a sudden they've got the most exciting program in the conference at this point in time. Yeah, there's other teams that have the same record, but I'm talking about excitement, right? They haven't seen this. They haven't experienced this in many, many years in a very, very long time. In fact, it feels like the people locally are still struggling to believe it's real or take it in because they're not showing up, unfortunately, to the stadium enough. So hopefully, more of that continues to change. Guess what? Winning cures all, right? So you will see the people fill in those stands if they continue to go on their dominant way as they have so far. But they just, again, they need that offense to get a little bit more dangerous for me to feel really, really comfortable. That's why I still had questions in my power rankings about putting them too high. But obviously there's no doubt for you or me, they are a top 3 team in this conference without a shadow of a doubt. And defense, as we know, does win championships. So,
right. Well, and that's why I said I think they make one more defensive stop than Alabama does.
Yep. And Artie says, just keep wearing those helmets. Yeah, one of the best helmets. I would have said going into this season they were the best helmets until you saw Illinois' helmets. Those things were free.
Yeah, Illinois' helmets were sick.
Did you hear how long it took each one helmet to be made?
No, I did not.
2 hours for each helmet.
That's insane, but it sounds about right based on what they look like. I mean, the detail on those helmets were, phenomenal.
Yeah,
and then they went and beat Michigan.
Yeah, they worked, right? All you needed to do was get one win in them, and that was going to be all you really needed to have, right? I mean, now you sell those things for $5,000 a piece, and Illinois fans with money eat that stuff up. So, hey, more
turnover on downs. Liberty still 24-17. Liberty it was fourth and 12. Turnover on downs. Kennesaw State has the ball back. 7:53 left in the fourth. They've got the ball at almost midfield.
Wow. Okay, so still enough time to be dangerous, though. Okay. All right.
Yeah, listen, they got to go down and they got to score. They got to get 3 points. If Kennesaw State can get 3 points right here, so essentially if you can go get 25 yards, 30 yards, you might win this football game the way it's been going.
Okay.
I'll keep you all abreast.
There we go. Yeah. And for everyone listening the next day, you will probably already know, but we will give it to you in live replay fashion, if you will, if that makes any sense at all. Ben James starting us off hot in this one, saying A-State wins by at least 2 touchdowns. That's a statement right there.
Well, here's the thing: he might not be wrong based on what I've seen. Based on what I've seen from Arkansas State and the way that they can run the football and the way that they the way that they score at a high clip, they might not be wrong. I mean, Troy can't score the football. They haven't done it well enough at all. I know Arkansas State can score at least 30.
Yeah, they could. The only thing that has me questioning any of that is that Troy defense hasn't been terrible, right? I mean, yeah, they lost to South Alabama. You've just talked about how dangerous Gio Lopez is, how Fluff Bothwell has been running really well as a true freshman running back in the backfield. This game is a little different, built on the offensive side of the ball, though. You do have a dangerous quarterback at Jalen Rayner at the quarterback position here for A-State. But you're probably more dominant on the wide receiver aspect with Rucker than you are at the running back position like South Alabama was, because Rayner can essentially be your running back when need be. He hasn't been doing that as much because he hasn't needed to, but could be an interesting aspect. And again, we got to hammer home the fact that Goose Crowder is out for the remainder of the season. And thus far, neither one of the other 2 quarterbacks have really grabbed the reins and shown that they are going to be the guy. So that's the other question for me is like, do they stick with one guy, or do they do what Marshall did and have like a 2 quarterback system, which, as we saw from Marshall, did not really work out. Looks like Braxton's going to be the guy moving forward. Does Troy have that in them to figure that out either before this game or during this game? I'm trusting the guy that has been there, done that with Jalen Rayner with the ball literally in his hands as pictured here. Yeah,
listen, I'm with you. I think Jalen Rayner poses the same threat Gio Lopez does, maybe a slighter frame, obviously, and a little bit lighter feet, so he's a little bit faster. And like you said, the advantage is Arkansas State's receivers. That said, though, I don't see this being a relatively close game at all.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
I mean, 7.5 is generous.
Yeah, I agree. I would feel pretty safe with taking that. I don't know, like maybe why it's so low. It's in Jonesboro, and they're getting only 7.5 points.
They're giving Troy respect. This is based off last year. They're giving Troy respect based on what they've traditionally done, and I don't think that they deserve it. But that's the only explanation, because Troy hasn't shown you that they can score enough points. To make it worth. I mean, like, I don't know about 17, but certainly 10 to 14 would not surprise me at all.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't surprise me in the least. I know Artie says Texas State needs to have a Troy victory here. Yeah, that they're going to need that help. I don't know, like AJ and Ben are saying, I don't know if they're going to get it. Red Wolves have won 5 straight at home and currently undefeated at home this season. Although we do have to continue to mention that first game against Central Arkansas was about as questionable as you can get as far as a victory is concerned. That one was at home. Now, again, this is not the same team, 7 games into the season as it was at that point. But you do have to mention it because it did happen. So, I guess my thought process here is take A-State and the 7.5, no problem. Oh, what happened?
Kennesaw State's quarterback just threw a laser down the sideline. Completed pass on the side. I mean, I don't even know who this kid number 5 is, but this was an absolute dime of a throw and catch. Yeah. I mean, he ripped it down the sideline. That is outstanding football. That is.
Well, and I looked at this game. I didn't do anything placing bet-wise or anything. And I looked at the Kennesaw State offense, and, nothing impressed me. I was not blown away.
That's the thing. That's why, bro, that is why I'm so confused right now. Like, what is happening? Because this should not be happening. I mean, they're in field goal range right now.
Yeah, look no further than Ben James' comment right below. Everything is questionable. It's perfect timing that you just put that on the screen, Ben, because everything is questionable in college football.
Including tonight.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Undefeated, winless, head-to-head. Who wins? Easy, right? No, it's not easy.
And that's why we play the game.
Yeah, unbelievable that these things are happening. But, so we'll round that part out, and then we'll get to some extra points. I've got something real specific I want to talk to you about, TJ.
Sure.
Did you watch or hear or see the clip from the Manning cast where Peyton talks to Ed Reed about the Guardian caps? Did you see that?
So I have not, but I've seen a lot of conversation around the Guardian caps, and quite frankly, I like them for positions that need them. So if it's me, and I feel like you were going somewhere, so if stop me if you've got some more to say on this. But if it were me, I'd make it mandatory for offensive linemen and linebackers to wear it. Those are high, and running backs. Those are high contact positions. Those are positions that get contacted every single play. I would absolutely make it mandatory that those guys wear. Everybody else, optional, whatever, that's fine. Do whatever you want. But I would make it mandatory for those guys to wear it. And I think we're going to move to a place where that becomes the norm.
We've got Tyler chiming in saying, if Troy can be competitive, I'll be happy. Goose, officially out for the season. Time to see some younger guys. It certainly is. And then Ben's got a good question that we'll get to here in a second. Do want to go back to what we were just talking about. I want to talk to you about what Ed Reed did say. And I don't even remember how it came up exactly, whether Peyton asked him about it or he just started going off about it. But he brought up a great point with the Guardian caps. So he says they don't do anything. And here's why he says that. Because a lot of the blows to the head aren't based off of just the straight up helmet to helmet. Obviously those happen, and maybe they'll be protective in those situations. And specifically, like you said, those positions that you mentioned. Okay. However, Ed Reed's comment or concern or question comes from the helmet contact delivered to the neck, to the jaw. There is nothing about that cap that is protective in any of those areas. And those are actually where you're seeing more of the concussions. And there's really nothing that cap can do to protect you, except for once the head bounces back and hits the turf at a hard velocity. However, yet again, you're talking about the brain being slammed against the skull. So it doesn't matter how much padding you have. If the velocity of the hit is hard enough to throw you back, your body's, it's still going to whiplash there. His big, and to simplify this, I guess, his biggest concern is the strength of the neck. And as the game progresses, you get lazier, essentially, is what he's saying, fatigued, and that neck position becomes worse, right? And so when these hits are when you're taking the impact of these hits, it's a bigger concern. It's a bigger chance, likelihood, possibility that these hits become more troublesome, and that this guardian cap isn't going to help you in those situations. So I don't know what your thoughts are when you get to hear that portion of it, but I thought it was a great point that he brought up, especially when you see some of these hits with that helmet contact actually help hitting the jaw and neck area instead of necessarily helmet to helmet.
Yeah, so he's right, but he's speaking from his own experience, right? And I say his own experience. There's a lot of us, me personally, I've experienced it as well. When you get hit in the side of the helmet, side of the jaw, but how often is that happening? Would be my point, right? Like that happens maybe twice a game. Whereas these linebackers, and I mean, if I'm an offensive lineman going against a defensive lineman, we're hitting head to head about 60 times a game. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and a linebacker is doing that same thing maybe 30 to 40 times a game, depending on how often that defense is or that offense is running the football. So I think, I just saw the field goal, Mr. Hairy Legs.
I don't care what his name is. He's known as Hairy Legs from now on.
Yeah, that sucker is hairy. I wish you could see it in real time with me. This is crazy. I've never seen a kicker. I've never seen a human this hairy before in my life, especially in his lower body. But yeah, so he's speaking from the perspective of being a safety and coming down and laying a hit on a wide receiver or somebody coming across the middle, running back, be it tight end, whatever. He is right in that regard, in that aspect. That doesn't happen as often as these offensive linemen and linebackers getting hit. So he has a point, but the point becomes invalid based on if you talk about numbers and how often it happens to each person. I don't want to say invalid because nothing Ed Reed says is ever invalid. He's a Hall of Famer and the greatest safety of all time. So respectfully, if somehow this comes across your feed, Mr. Reed, don't get mad at me. I don't mean it that way. I'm saying
don't deliver a hit to my jawline.
Yeah, for real. Just don't find out where I live. I don't want to be that guy. But no, I'm just saying that what he's saying is correct. It just doesn't happen as often as the hits that I'm talking about, which is why I would make it mandatory for those guys to wear. Tua should absolutely be wearing it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just one example.
Yeah, in those situations, like, why do you not? Like, it is a layer of protection, at least. Or you can make the argument that it's going to make you play with a different comfort level, right? I mean, now maybe Tua says, well, I got this cap on, I can play like my old self. Whereas if he's not wearing it, maybe he says, I'm about to take a tackle, I'm going to go out earlier. I don't know. But, I think that's a part of it, and I just clicked it off. But Tyler Austin says,
no, Tyler's right. I just read this comment. He's right.
Yeah. Says doctor say that the safest position, regardless of repetitions, is the offensive and defensive line because the contact doesn't go to a certain level of force. I'm not a scientist, so I take it at face value. He also says, I hear you, but any position such as wide receiver, running back, or linebacker will likely take way more force than a lineman position. Yeah, I absolutely think that is true.
Yeah, you're right, but you're talking force over repetition. So I don't know, and I don't know the history on this. I mean, how many offensive linemen, defensive linemen, the stats on it do we have that recorded CTE, right? And you don't know that until after you're dead, and then you have to dedicate your brain to science, and in order for them to even figure it out. So we'll never know true numbers. So we I think we got Junior Seau as one for sure. Antonio Brown, in my opinion, but who knows? I still remember.
If he's not, there's pills he should be taking that he's not, I guess.
Yeah, I still remember what he said to you via, what was it, Twitter or Instagram or something when you reached out to him?
Oh, one of our guys did. Yeah, one of our guys.
Yeah. I was like,
tried to get him on a show. That was crazy. That was crazy. That they even.
I'm not going to repeat it, But
yeah. Oh, you could repeat it. It's hilarious. To me, it was clean. It was just funny.
Yeah, he said, I don't know. I don't like calling people white boys or black. It just doesn't sound good to me. So when he said it, I was just like, that doesn't hit my ear the way I wanted to. But anyway, it was
pretty much. He wanted to know how much was in the bag just to come on a show where we're not making any money. So there was not much further discussion after that.
They're not even paying me. So let's talk. I'm
not getting paid either, TJ. There's no secrets here.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, they're not even paying us. So what do you think we're going to offer you? We can get you some tickets to a football game, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe I'll buy you a chicken Big Mac. Have you had one, by the way?
I won't have one. I will not eat it. No, I will not eat it. That just seems fatbackish to me. Like, I'm not doing that, man. Like, 2 chicken patties I don't think I want that. It was.
Oh, so I had one. I'll do a full disclosure. No free ads here, McDonald's. Hit us back later. But I did try. I had to. Like, I'm on one of those people who tries
Is it good?
So I wasn't impressed, man. I'll be honest. Yeah. Like, I would get the traditional beef patty Big Mac over that every single time. I thought the flavor and the taste of the beef was better than the chicken. So also, here's the thing that I didn't think about. So, I mean, beef is kind of slimy too, I guess, in some regards, but like the patty of the chicken with the lettuce and the special sauce, like, just slipped off like every bite, right? Like, the whole thing's fallen apart repeatedly throughout the whole process. And I'm like, it looks better than the burger one because it doesn't look like smashed down. It actually sits and looks more like they do on the commercials, but it was a freaking mess. So I don't know.
Well, and even the traditional Big Mac to me right now has gone south. I mean, the patty is much smaller. I mean, they basically got a double cheeseburger patty on there, and you got more bread than you got meat. I don't want that. I'd rather go to Burger King and get a Whopper.
Yeah. Oh, dude, the Whopper. I mean, Burger King burgers in general are just better because they're bigger.
A Whopper might be undefeated. I mean,
I'll agree with you on that.
I mean, I know you got your Five Guys and you got all your gourmet burgers, and and that's great. Those are great sandwiches for what they are.
Yeah.
But you're talking about original OG fast food chain. The Whopper is unmatched. Add cheese, no onion, and you got me.
Ooh, I'll put everything on there for me. I'm an onion guy. I like it. Tyler Austin is saying Whataburger. Now I will say this: I have never had Whataburger.
I was just going to say I haven't either.
Yeah, I don't know much about. Is it, Tyler? Is it like a smash burger? Is that what Whataburger is known for, or is it? I don't. I've heard good things. I haven't experienced it yet. I don't really have one close to me. So if he wants to put up what they're known for, I guess we can go with that. He also thinks that we should all agree that Tua should be wearing the cap and shouldn't have a choice on that. He says. No, fresh, never frozen beef patty. I thought that was Wendy's tagline.
So, listen, I was going to say a Dave's Hot and Juicy double or single. I'm okay with that too. It's not a close second behind the Whopper, but it's certainly second.
Okay.
But I show a lot of love to the quarter pounder that McDonald's has.
Yeah, quarter pounder's nice.
Yeah, so I take the quarter pounder, take the onions off because I only like, if I'm gonna eat raw onion, I only like red onion raw.
Okay.
But I like the quarter pounder, cheese, bacon, no mustard, ketchup, and add Big Mac sauce.
Oh.
Yeah.
You got a little secret menu over there, TJ.
Yeah, man. I got a lot going on over here.
Oh, man. G. Wills, sorry, messed that up. That's the guy who's our ODU fan who giving you a little.
Yeah, I know. What's up, man?
He's making you Twitter famous. He's putting your little clips up from the show, man. He went over there and clipped it all out. I was like, yes, this is what we want. This is what we need right here.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Shout out. Yeah, Patty Melt is goated. Yeah, sounds like this place is the place to be. AJ Moore saying, now, if we're talking chicken fingers, Raisin Cane's. CJ, you've been to a Raisin. See, I'm on the Sunbelt Hub. Raisin Cane's. You've been to one?
I have not, but I have been to a Zaxby's, and they're hard to beat.
So I've heard that Cane's does beat Zaxby's. Most people that I've been conferring with have said so, but I'll put it to the test. I've been to Zaxby's a few times. It's not a regular stop for me because it's not as close. Chapel Hill just got a Raising Cane's not too long ago, and I've yet to go. So I can't experience that one.
We might have to go check that out. Touchdown Liberty, by the way.
Oh, so it's tied or about to be?
27-23. It's about to be 27-24, but it's a minute 49 left, fourth quarter, and Kennesaw State's about to get the ball back, and they've been able to run the football, and Liberty only has one timeout.
Ooh, this is going to be so good.
Yeah, so we're here to come down to the wire.
Might have to go out to Raising Cane's and give me some chicken fingers to celebrate.
How close are you?
It's downtown Chapel Hill, so I'm probably
you're right around the corner.
7 minutes at the most from door to door. Tyler also said, look it up. It's so good. Thick diced onions. I like that. Also, their patty melts, as G. Wills was saying. Also, so the patty melts. So if we're going to Whataburger, patty melts.
Yeah. Well, and too, it's hard to beat a patty melt, right?
True.
Like, especially if it's on thick toast.
Yeah. No kidding. Chicken tender trophy goes to Foosackly's, an Alabama chain. As we know from the Troy boys, they like to give South Alabama fans a little crap when it's time to go to Foosackly's. Troy boys like to think that every Mobile resident has worked at Foosackly's at some point in their life. So
it's probably not the case, but
yeah, it's a great name. I like just saying it. It's fun to say. I thought it was a joke. The first time I ever had them on the show and they were joking about it, I thought this is just some made up thing that they're just making fun of. No, it's a real place. I have yet to try it. We need an all-time chicken place rankings. Chick-fil-A, Cane's, Popeyes, Foosackly's.
Bojangles is going to be undefeated. So.
Yeah, Bojangles for me is goated, but I do have to say that I am one of those people who likes to try everything before I say it's better than. I was disappointed. I've been to Popeyes, not a fan. I didn't really – they said, the Cajun spice, the Cajun flavor, and I went, and maybe it was a newer location. Maybe they just didn't have every grill up to seasoning yet or something, but there was, no Cajun spice on anything I ate. I was like, this isn't spicy at all. There's no kick. There's no flavor to this. So –
yeah. It's not what it's all correct. But the chicken sandwich was top tier. Popeye's chicken sandwich is top notch. That's the best thing they have. But everything else is just kind of, it's good. I would eat it again.
I would eat a lot of things again.
That's fair. That is fair.
Tyler also says, easy as a Troy grad living in Mobile. Yeah. Well, we'll have to have the Troy boys back on with Austin jumping in there in the comments. Ben James doesn't like our food preview show. Well, it's a food review show now. It's not a preview.
Yeah.
Hey, man, Fuddruckers, man. That was
Fuddruckers. I used to love. They used to have one in Jacksonville, North Carolina, where my grandma stayed, and they made a good sandwich over there too.
Yeah, they definitely do. I haven't been to one since I lived in Hickory, North Carolina, and went to one a lot as a kid. That was like the spot after like a soccer tournament or some big get-together. Warren saying Goldfingers, another establishment down south that I have never heard of. But, yeah, I have heard that it is good, Golden Fingers in southeast Alabama. You know what we should do, TJ? We should just franchise these things up here and bring these good chicken places to the good.
We're giving away a lot of free ads right now too.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm going to go after every single one of these ones we just talked about. Ben's had enough. No more food talk for Ben. But hey, we like to have some fun.
For you, Ben, we are at the end anyway.
Yeah, there wasn't much left to talk about. Like I said, I wanted to talk about that Ed Reed thing. I thought that was really. Oh, if you see the clip too, by the way, I'm
going to go look it up soon after I finish this game.
Oh, yeah. The whole aspect of the clip is that, like, the Mannings are very uncomfortable. And apparently the reasoning for that is, like, Ed Reed, obviously, not afraid to speak his mind. But obviously, you and I both know, as well as most of the people watching and listening to this show, the NFL doesn't like to be upfront and honest about a lot of these things. They want to keep it hush-hush back there, hide it, don't talk about it, don't bring it to light. And you could tell, in all likelihood, Peyton and Eli had gotten that before, and they were just trying to totally move on from the conversation and talk about what was happening as the Ravens gave up another touchdown towards the end. It was awkward. It is an awkward thing. But like you said, Ed Reed is right. There's nothing wrong about what he said, but an interesting clip if anybody wants to go find it. I think sometimes we get in trouble for copyright stuff when we show that stuff for too long, so I didn't bring it up. But it does exist out there. You can check it out for yourself and feel if you think it is as awkward as people say it is. But yeah, man. AJ is asking, is Fusakli's only in Alabama? So it's immediate disqualification because it's only in Alabama. Some of us don't go into the crust. Oh man, I haven't been in Alabama maybe once, just driving through, kind of. I can't remember, but yeah, I mean, I think it is only in Alabama. It may be into that Gulfport area of Mississippi, possibly. I have to check on that, but yeah, we'll have to see where our franchise limits go, TJ.
Yeah, we'll see. In the meantime, Kennesaw State's about to pull this off. 30 seconds left, and the clock is running. Play clock is at 17 seconds. Game clock is at 24 seconds. But it's 4th and 1. So if I was Kennesaw State, I would snap the ball and just run backwards.
There you go. Much like Louisiana did to App State in was that the championship game they did that in? I think it was.
Yeah. I mean, they got 9 seconds left. They just took a delay of game penalty because who cares?
Yeah.
Can you run backwards for 9 seconds?
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
I mean, that's going to be horrible for your stats, but who cares? You're 0-6. Like,
yeah, that's true. You're going to be an undefeated team. This is the biggest laughing stock. I love this. I love it. I freaking love this. This is.
I didn't think. I mean, we talked about it at the halftime. I guess when our show started, then it was halftime of this game. I didn't think Kennesaw State was going to be able to hold on, but they have more than held on. They've done exactly what I thought they should have done this last quarter, and it looks like, for all intents and purposes, this is going to end in a Kennesaw State victory. We got to make sure that nothing funky happens after this timeout.
Yeah, don't rush the field too early, fans. Let it happen first, then you can celebrate.
Yeah, they're already like 1 foot over the like they just showed it. Everybody's got like 1 foot over the freaking railing, about to jump off and be ridiculous. But yeah, snap the ball and just run backwards. Yeah.
G. Will saying, prepare for the influx of excuses from Liberty. I have no doubt you're going to see all kinds of stuff, man. I might make a graphic just to have fun with this because this is hilarious.
Just run backwards. What are you doing?
So they gave it up, and they're going to turn it over on downs, huh?
Turn it over on downs with 6 seconds left. So I would have ran backwards. I don't know why.
Oh yeah, going back to Ben James' question: Texas or Vanderbilt, who wins?
Well, the easy one should be Texas.
Should be.
But
we just saw what's happening in this game.
Yeah, well, and also too, Vanderbilt beat Alabama, but Alabama has not been a good football team since that second half game with Georgia.
Yeah, I will tell this. We're involved in a small pick'em between us at College Football Dogs, and I took Vanderbilt because I don't necessarily think it's going to happen, but I am behind in the standings, so I'm trying to take one that nobody else is going to pick that direction. And I thought, if in the case that it happens, I'll look like a genius, and if it doesn't, then I continue to just be at the same spot I was in before, so what the hell?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, Vanderbilt's going to get a pissed off Texas. That's
true.
That's the part that's going to be, because Texas was on their high horse thinking they could just come into the SEC and dominate right away, and Georgia was like, not so fast.
Oh yeah, JQ runs that pick'em, and he says you coming back slowly. Yeah, I picked a couple. I think I can't remember if I picked ULM over JMU. But I think I did, and I was the only one to do that if I did do that. But I'm pretty sure that was one of my big, shocking points. So everyone's probably looking at me going, he's a dummy. But, hey, that's why we look at the Sun Belt the way we do.
That is it.
What is y'all's game to watch for both the Sun Belt and FBS?
I think it's Georgia Southern ODU.
Yeah, I think so, too. The only one that has me questioning that is the ULM South Alabama matchup. I think that's a really good one too. But I think as far as electricity goes, with the chance of some scoring outbreaks, you're going to see more out of that ODU Georgia Southern game.
Yeah.
So that one, but and then I think we touched on it in the Sunday show, but another good one that's unfortunately on the same time as the Sun Belt game on Thursday is Syracuse and. Pitt.
Pitt, yeah.
That's a really underrated matchup and a great matchup for a Thursday. But
it's gonna be a good football game.
I'm gonna be doing what you did and doing a split screen so I can watch both. But I'll be focusing on the Sunbelt game for sure. All right, Hail Mary time. Is they gonna do anything? Game over.
That is.
Are they gonna say there's 1 second left on the clock though? Because it looked like it went out of bounds at like 2 and it was clicking over to 1. I'll be interesting to see if they hold anybody on.
No, it doesn't look like it.
You're gonna stop this now. It's over, right? I mean,
it's over.
What are you gonna do?
yeah.
Oh, look at that! First FBS victory in program history is against an undefeated Liberty team. This is hilarious, even more.
It just keeps getting better.
Oh, yes, it does. What a great way to end the show.
Yeah,
what
absolutely.
A phenomenal way to end the show. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. We will be sure to wrap you up on Sunday night. So check out all that Sunbelt action and keep it locked in for some hopefully hilarious graphics to come out from me for Liberty tomorrow. See y'all later.
Sunbelt Syndicate.